In the last video, we actually saw how to create the base swiper slider like this one. Then we saw how to create the vertical sliders. Then we also saw how to create this autoplay slider with the timer, also with the text timer. And then in this video, we are going to learn how to create the 3D cube slider. You could see this one and this one. And I know this slider is not common, but maybe for rare cases, it might be used and might even look better for your design. And then in future videos, we are going to learn how to create cover flow slider, flip slider, card slider, creative slider, which is the slider where you could just add any other effect that you want. It's not going to look the same, but you could add any type of effect, any type of rotation you want in this slider. Then there's going to be a thumb slider. Basically, we connect two different sliders to each other, which means that you could create any type of design in each of these sliders and it will basically be connected. Then we will be making the curve slider. And then in the last video, we'll make the panorama slider. And the best part is I have actually provided you guys with the free template pack for this one. And the way you could support me is by getting Elementor from my affiliate links, or getting Hostinger from my links, or just buying my paid templates from my website. And another thing is, at the end, after I've created every single slider, I will be creating a video which would show how to create or use this template. So make sure to watch that if you just want to, use that template. And one important thing is the first slider, which is the custom base slider with autoplay. This is the first video that I made. It's a very huge one. It's probably going to be a 40 minutes plus video. And that one I go into much more detail, explaining every single thing. That way I don't have to create the other videos as big as this one. So please also watch this video, because this one would give you like much more detail about the code and how it's worked. Even if you do not understand code, you would still be able to make it. And not just that, you will be able to customize it a lot more. So let's get started. It's going to be a bit faster because, like I said, I've already shown how to do lots of the stuff in the custom base video, and I don't want the rest of the videos to be as huge as the first one. So first one, we are just going to create the basic shape, or basic layout, I mean. If you go down, you can basically see the layout in here. This is the main layout, like this part only. Rest of it is a bit optional how you want to place it. So inside of this one, I'll create a container which is going to be full width. Make sure it's full width. I'll call it as cube slider. Inside of this, we'll add our first swiper wrapper. This one basically contains all the sides. So let's create swiper, wrapper. And inside of this, we'll create the slides. So it depends on how many slides you want. So let's add slide 1. Like this. So I'll create more, but let's just keep one for now so that we can duplicate it quicker. And outside this cube slider, so we can actually place it outside here instead of placing it inside. So let's place this outside, where we will have the navigation icon, which are optional obviously. So this one is going to be the left one. This one is going to be the right one. And then we will create a pagination container, which basically is which can basically be this dots. Where is it? This dots, or it can be this number, or you could also create a progress bar for it, which I've explained in the first video. So I'm not going to go in much more detail. You don't need to watch the full first video if you just want to know about pagination. If you go to that video, I would have all the timestamps on where I show what to do when. So make sure you go there and then just check the pagination part, and you would be able to change it to different parts. I will also explain it in this video, but I will go like lot more quicker. So if you have watched the previous video, you would know that because there's a gap between this one, we will make this cube slider be 0 padding so that there's no gap. In a swipe wrapper, we don't want any gap between our slides. So if I, let's say, add more slide, you would see there's gaps between them. We don't want that. So in the swiper wrapper, we'll set the gap to be 0. And then we don't want gap between this part too, so we'll make it padding 0. We want to make sure the swiper wrapper goes left to right, and then we have to make sure no wrap is enabled for all 3 of them. So confirm that all 3 are using no wrap. I'm quickly going to add some images, or let's just add colors. You could add images yourself. So I'm just going to do some colors. Let's create 3 more. I should use like prettier colors, but I guess I'm trying to be a bit faster right now. So that's all we had to do for now. So that is adding a slider. I did a wrapper which has all the slides and then our buttons. And obviously you could place it in a container, place it however you want, give it position absolute or anything that you want. Okay, after everything we will go to HTML, add an HTML widget, and just go down, and first let's start adding all the CSS classes. So DM cube swiper, let's go here and give it to our swiper. Okay, so this cube swiper container or cube slider, I've called it slider, but I should have called it swiper. Doesn't matter what you type in here. Okay, this is just for your purposes, but this is very important. Then you could see we have wrapper class and slide class, next element, previous element, and pagination. But where is the CSS class? It's in the code. So you can actually find the code, the CSS class that we need to use around here. So let's copy this DM cube swiper wrapper and then add it around here. Add DM cube slider, not slider, just slide, and add it to the slide. So I should have added the code first and then duplicated it so that I don't have to go in each one of them. But you know what? Whatever. Let's just copy it. Then we will type previous and next. For the next one would be next, like DM, what is the full name? DM cube swiper next, and then previous would be DM cube swiper prev. Then we will go to the pagination. Make sure you do not copy the dot. Okay, we will copy the DM cube pagination and add it in here. Okay, so no dot copying. Okay, there should be no dots. Now let's go in here, let's copy and paste our code in the HTML, and suddenly something happened. So we can go to our cube slider and give it, let's say, 300 height, and then our swiper wrapper should also be 300 height. Okay, let's do preview. You could give any height. Okay, it's not going to be specific. And you could see it automatically started working like this. You could see it works perfectly. I can also use the buttons. It is also working with pagination. And obviously we can make our slider be a bit smaller. If you want, we can just go with pixel values like 300. Go to this container and let's place it in center. Let's do preview. And you could see it works perfectly. And obviously if you given, let's say if you gave cube slider auto flow hidden, you could create like a different effect. Basically you would not be able to see this curve outside the square. It would just not be visible. So you could see, you can see that it's not actually working. It was working last time I did, but it's probably getting overwritten by the styling. So if we go to DM cube swiper, because this is the slide, right? I go to my HTML, I go down to the styles where we can add our CSS. I don't know why it's bugging like this. Let me see if I can fix that. Okay, quickly. Nope, it's bugged out. So if I go to my code HTML widget and at the end, I want to change something to the, let me add some space. Okay, so if I do something like overflow hidden and then do important, exclamation important, it will basically overwrite it. And let's see if this looks weird or not. And yeah, it looks weird, so probably don't use it, but it's probably because of this shadow. So yeah, let's not use overflow hidden. I was able to create a specific design previously, but I think we will have to play around with like the height and width for it. But you can already see that it works perfectly. So let me explain the code a bit and then we will create the vertical one. So in the code, we can see that the direction is set to horizontal. We have set the loop to be 2. So if you turn this to false, it would not be looping. If you want to learn a lot more in detail, please watch the first video. I'm going to go quicker, like some basic stuff like loop and all. I will just not explain in like in much more detail. Okay. So loop is false. It will basically not loop and stop at the end. Grab cursor is basically, you know, this cursor turning to our hand. You could see hand icon. Space between needs to be 0 because it's a cube. So we cannot change this at all. Effect is cube. So shadow, obviously if you want this, if you want the slide shadow true, where it moves basically like this, you could see Let me do preview. Then there's offset, how far it should be and what the scale should be, like how small. It's a bit smaller, but you could play around with scale, make it even more smaller and all that stuff. Okay, so if you don't want shadow, you could basically disable it. Rest of it is not really much important. So if I have any changes, it will be always be in description, in a not in description, in comment, pinned message or pinned comment or whatever it is called. Now if you have watched the first video, you would know that we actually have a lot more options for this pagination. We have cube and then we have progress bar. I'm not going to teach you how to change it in this video because the video turns a bit bigger always. So just go into the pagination part of that video, you would be able to do it. You also have ChatGPT to quickly add those styling, or you could just give this as a reference to, like if I go down, you would see that this is for the fraction that we are already using. So if you, let's say, remove this completely, like double slash basically removes this line, you would see nothing's being shown. Actually it is being visible. Sometimes it gets visible, sometimes not. It's so confusing. You could make it left to right. Okay, so that way it would be left to right. But the way you customize this is, if you go to the first code, which is the first code, this is the default one. If you go down, you would see for bullet pagination. If you copy this, add this is for the styling of the pagination. Okay, add this in your CSS, you see, for bullet pagination, and you need to make sure that this one is called DM base bullet. So even though we added all this stuff, we actually need to give one more stuff, which is telling that, hey, whenever you create this bullet, please give them the class DM base bullet so that we can control it. And the way we do it is by using this code. I should have added it automatically, but this is all you need to type. Okay, so all you could not this much, sorry, this much, and we add it in the pagination part. By the way, this is the base class and this is the 3D cube one. Okay, so these two are different code, and the base class has the most information in one of it, so that I don't have to repeat it. So in the pagination, after the comma, you could add all of this and then do preview, and you would see that the button now has its own colors, and that is because the bullet class we have given DM base bullet and the active is given DM base bullet active. So anything that you add in here, like opacity 0.5, background color black, the height and width of it, aspect ratio 1 means that you have to be square. You are forced to be square. So you can remove this code if you don't want this icons to be square, and this is basically active one. So whatever you add in here would only be applied to the active dot. And you could change different color, you could make it different shape, you could make it different size, like scaling and all. Anything that you add in here would automatically be added. And CSS is like very basic. You could just go in ChatGPT and just type this too also. Okay, now how to change this into a vertical slide? Okay, so let's use this same shape. Everything should be same, but we will go to our 3D cube page, go down and copy this vertical slide. Let's copy this code and paste it in here like this. Now for this, the code changes. So DM cube V swiper. So V basically means vertical. Okay, so I called it DM cube V swiper. Let's go to this 3D cube. Let's go back to our wrapper class and copy this to the wrapper class. This one to the slide. This one to the next element without the dot. This one to the left element without the dot, which is previous. This one DM cube V swiper pagination to the pagination. Let's copy the code and add it to our HTML widget. And now you would be wondering, why is the height being different? And that is because when you use vertical, you have to specify a height in here, at least in Elementor. And the height is actually given in here. You can see desktop height, tablet height and mobile height. So you can basically type any height in here, it will automatically apply it. Okay, let's do preview. And you could say it's not looking perfect because we forgot to do this one thing, which is the swiper wrapper should not be left to right, it should be up to down now. So you could see how this is looking weird right now because all the elements are left to right like this. But if you do top to bottom, you could see it now works perfectly without any issues with all the buttons and all. So obviously just choose your height in here for desktop. You could see the tablet height, so type your height here, and this is for the mobile height. That's all there is to it. Watch the first video and you would be able to create the fraction or dotted ones or the progress bar, like all that stuff. And obviously everything is same, like false, you could do this as if you turn this false, no shadow is visible, and these are like all options, like how far, what's the scale and all that stuff. So yeah, thanks for watching, goodbye and have a great day.